4 indigenous children are being treated in the hospital after surviving in the Amazon jungle for 40 days after a plane crash. One of them says their mother did survive the crash, but died 4 days later. The children, who range from ages 11 months to 13 years old, were rescued on Friday. Genevieve Glatsky is a reporter, researcher for the Andes Bureau of the New York Times, and she has been following this story from Bogota, Colombia, and joins us now. So this is such an incredible story. And I think the first thing that most people are going to wonder is just how were these young children, including one who was under the age of 1, only turned 1 when they were in the jungle, how they were able to survive for so many days on their own.
Yeah, thank you for having me. 2 children had birthdays during this ordeal in the jungle. The other turned 5. A lot of details are still coming out about how exactly they survived. The children are still in the hospital recovering, but we know that one, they live on an indigenous reserve in a remote area in the Amazon. So they are used to an environment like this. Relatives have said that the oldest, the 13-year-old girl, Leslie, knew the jungle well. So they would have known how to fend for themselves in an environment like this more so than, your average kid from the city. So far, the details that have come out are that they survived on cassava flour, which they had with them on the plane, and by eating fruits in the Amazon jungle that they found. And the kids have said that they hid in tree trunks during rainstorms, which this area sees a lot of.
So as I understand it, though, they're probably going to be in the hospital for at least a few weeks. Do we know how they're doing?
So officials have said they are in remarkably good health. As far as injuries go, they have a few cuts and scrapes, but nothing more. They obviously nutritionally have a little ways to go. They haven't been eating well. So last we heard, they were not yet eating solid food, but they were being rehydrated. It takes a while to reintroduce food into the body after not being properly fed after all this time. But they said they are expected to make a full recovery and are doing remarkably well. They're asking to play, they're asking to read, they're chatting. So it's really encouraging.
And what about their dad? What's he asking for from the Colombian government?
Yeah, so the father, so the children and their mother were on this plane in the first place because the father had fled the area due to threats from armed groups and thought his life was under risk. So they were going to join him and ultimately live in Bogota with him. And he is saying that he's still under threat from a FARC dissident group. The FARC was the largest insurgent group in Colombia until 2016, when there was a landmark peace deal, and they disarmed and dissolved as a unified entity. But there are some small factions that still exist as illegal groups.
Well, obviously, this story has captured the attention of the world. I can only imagine what the outpouring must be like in Colombia. What's the reaction been like?
Oh, just overwhelming joy, relief. Everybody wants to know every detail, especially because 3 weeks ago there was some confusion. President Gustavo Petro tweeted that the children had been found, but then had to retract it because it turned out it came from inaccurate or incomplete information from the country's child welfare agency. So then it turned out they hadn't been found. And so that just increased the amount of attention on it. People were confused, they were angry, and there was even more pressure to find these children alive. And all this time, authorities had been insisting they thought they were still alive. So the fact that they've all been found, even the baby, alive and in good health, is just remarkable. And the whole country has just been captivated.
Genevieve Glatsky, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.